Hello everyone, and welcome back. It's time for our final video until November. So, our final story and our final video of the year is Mr. Grumpy, written by Roger Hargreaves. It was a lovely summer evening. Mr. Grumpy was at home, Crosspatch Cottage. He sat down in an armchair and picked up a book. Then, do you know what he did? I'll give you a few seconds to guess. Okay, time's up. Time to find out. He tore all the pages out of it. Every one. Mr. Grumpy can't stand books. He has a shocking bad temper. In fact, he's quite the most bad-tempered person you can imagine. Grumpy by name, and even more grumpy by nature. The following morning, he was out in his garden pulling up flowers. He couldn't stand pretty flowers growing in his garden. When out of the corner of his eye, he saw a figure. It was Mr. Happy. "Good morning," said Mr. Happy. "Good," said Mr. Grumpy. "What's good about it?" "But," said Mr. Happy. "But nothing," went on Mr. Grumpy. "Get out of my garden." "I beg your pardon," said Mr. Happy. "You heard me," snapped Mr. Grumpy. "Go away." "I say," laughed Mr. Happy. "You're a bad-tempered fellow." grunted Mr. Grumpy. "And," went on Mr. Happy, "bad-tempered fellows need to change their ways." "Rubbish!" snapped Mr. Grumpy and went on into his cottage, deliberately stepping on Mr. Happy's foot as he passed him. "Ouch!" said Mr. Happy. Went the door on the Crosspatch Cottage as Mr. Happy slammed it behind him. Mr. Happy stood there, not looking quite so happy as he normally does. His foot hurt. He thought and thought and thought some more. And then he had an idea. He smiled and went to see Mr. Tickle. Mr. Happy told Mr. Tickle of his idea of how to get Mr. Grumpy to change his ways. And Mr. Tickle grinned the sort of grin that goes from ear to ear. That is, if you have ears, which he doesn't. "Oh," he grinned, rubbing his hands at the end of those extraordinarily long arms together. "That sounds fun." That afternoon, Mr. Grumpy went into town. He walked into Mr. Meat's shop. Mr. Meat was a baker. "Give me some sausages," snapped Mr. Grumpy, "and be quick about it." Poor Mr. Meat, who was frightened of Mr. Grumpy, did as he was told. But as he was doing as he was told, something appeared through his shop doorway. Do you know what it was? Oh, what's that little arm right there, look? Let's find out. It was an extraordinarily long arm belonging to, well, you can guess who it belonged to, can't you? That extraordinarily long arm of Mr. Tickle's came in through the door and across the shop and up to Mr. Grumpy and tickled him. Squeaked Mr. Grumpy in alarm, dropping his sausages and looking around to see who had happened. But could he see anything? He could not. Grunted Mr. Grumpy and picked up his sausages and went next door to the cake shop. Went the door of the shop. "Give me a cake," snapped Mr. Grumpy, "and hurry up." Poor Mrs. Fairy, who sold cakes, was frightened at Mr. Grumpy, and do as he was told, and so did as she was told. But as she was doing as she was told, guess what happened? "Woo!" squeaked Mr. Grumpy, dropping his cake and his sausages. He could not understand what was happening. And the newspapers, and the same thing happened at Mr. Daly's the newspaper shop, and at Mrs. Humbug's the sweet shop, and at Mr. Bottle's dairy, and at Mr. Packet's the grocer. It went on all afternoon. And all afternoon, Mr. Grumpy had kept being tickled and dropped his shopping and picking it up and being tickled and dropping his shopping and picking it up and being tickled and dropping his shopping, and he could not just understand it. On his way home to Crosspatch Cottage, he met Mr. Happy. "Hello," grinned Mr. Happy. "Having a nice day?" "Get out of my way," snapped Mr. Grumpy, "before I kick you." But almost before the words had passed his lips, that extraordinarily long arm of Mr. Tickles had appeared from behind a tree and tickled him yet again. He jumped in the air and dropped all his shopping yet again and fell over. Mr. Happy looked down at Mr. Grumpy, lying amid in a jumble of sausages and cake and newspaper and sweets and milk and cornflakes. "I think," he laughed, "that if you were to change your ways and be not quite so bad-tempered quite so often, this sort of thing might not happen to you quite so often." Grunted Mr. Grumpy. He picked up all his shopping yet again and went home to Crosspatch Cottage. But on his way home, he did think about what Mr. Happy had said, because he very definitely did not like what had happened to him that afternoon. Mr. Happy and Mr. Tickle laughed and shook hands. And so after that, he did try to be not quite so bad-tempered quite so often. And the more he tried, the less he found he was tickled. And so he tried more and more. And those days he's quite a changed person. Why, only the other evening, he picked up a book, and do you know what he did? He only tore out one page. And that is the end of our story. I hope you all enjoyed it. And I will see you now in November 30th for the comeback special. Goodbye, everyone. Bye.